Do you love freedom? If so, you probably love Bitcoin. But if you love freedom and you don't love Bitcoin, you might want to find out some more about Bitcoin because those two things are incredibly compatible in a way that fiat and freedom just really aren't. A recent article in Time magazine entitled "Bitcoin is Essential for Freedom" underlined why Bitcoin is just so gosh darn important. And of course, they brought out everyone's favorite use case for Bitcoin, Venezuela. Venezuela is basically a tale of a country gone wrong. What not to do when running a country. Complete economic mismanagement. Massive inflation has resulted in the local currency being worth next to nothing. And that is a massive problem for anybody who lives in that country. We're seeing 5,500 people a day leaving the country forever, going somewhere, anywhere but there. And that is a horrible situation to find yourself in, to be in a country that has been so badly mismanaged that you have to leave your country. Being a refugee, nobody wants to be a refugee. You go to another country, everybody looks at you as some dirty immigrant, everyone turns their back on you. You don't want to be there, they don't want you to be there. It is a horrible situation to be in. Not to mention you didn't want to leave your home in the first place. You got your job, you got your dad, you got your mom, you got your girlfriend, you got your dog, you got your favorite fruit tree, your favorite cafe, your local park, all that stuff. That's your home. But you have to go because your country is totally messed up. Now, for the people who are staying in Venezuela, they are suffering under a financial regime which is totally broken on so many levels. The government tried launching something called the Petro, which is a cryptocurrency tied to oil. Long term, I guess we're going to have to see how that plays out. I don't hold a lot of faith in the Petro cryptocurrency, but you do have to realize too that Venezuela has suffered for a long time under sanctions, and there has been a very strong media war against Venezuela. And I'm not endorsing Venezuelan government or any of their socialist policies or any of that stuff, but you do have to realize the factor of economic sanctions against a country, which is part of why Bitcoin is so important in the first place. And this is where Bitcoin comes walking in, because it is so easy for us to just get sidetracked and just talk about the price of Bitcoin all the time. Bitcoin's gonna go up. Bitcoin's gonna go down. Bitcoin's gonna go sideways. Bitcoin's gonna do a loop-de-loop. I love making money. I love speculating on the price of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. It's cool. It's changed my life in so many ways in terms of, personal finance. But what keeps me here making videos all the time is not the price of Bitcoin, even though I might talk about it a lot because why wouldn't you? That's fun too. But the real thing behind Bitcoin is what it is, what it represents, the power of that tool to change the lives of billions of people. And it's not just Bitcoin. A lot of other cryptocurrencies are going to be part of this picture, from Digibyte and Ethereum, Litecoin. All these other coins are going to come together because what are they? They are permissionless, censorship-resistant money. They give people financial freedom. Or, in the case of Ethereum, for example, they give people the place to build platforms in terms of a dApp or a new social media or something like that. All of these new tools are very, very powerful and are going to allow the next wave of finance to be unleashed in a way which will make the previous industrial revolutions look like child's play. Because right now we have an economic system which is actively excluding billions of people because of the broken financial system. And I understand why that financial system arose. I understand why it stayed around for so long. I understand why it made sense when it did make sense, but it doesn't make sense anymore and it has stayed on too long. It is time for new tools. And when it comes to something like financial exclusion, I think that this is something that most of us only ever understand on a theoretical level. But if you actually look around you, There's people all around who are actually financially excluded from the economy in different varying ways, and that's even if you're in a Western country. But if you really want to know about financial exclusion, hop on a plane, go somewhere that's not a resort, and you are going to see financial exclusion everywhere. These are the other 3 or 4 billion people on the planet who have little to no access to financial tools. I'm not saying I want to get these people bank accounts, because that is just recreating more of the bad system that hasn't really delivered a lot to most people except incredible debt. No, we can do better than that. We can leapfrog that. When people in developing countries jump over this previous architecture of the banks, it is going to be big without a doubt. And now when it comes to censorship resistance, again, this is something that so many of us only understand on a theoretical level. Like, well, yeah, I understand why, it's bad to censor people's speech, for example. Maybe I understand why it's bad to censor people's transactions. But until you've actually been hit by that censorship, that's a totally different thing. And we see it happening around us all the time. It is very real, and it is being enforced daily all over the world. Yeah, sure, social media giants are doing it. They're cutting off certain accounts that talk about things they don't like. That's problematic. PayPal just came out today, or maybe yesterday, and they are censoring Hacker News, a tech publication talking about the recent news in hacking. They're cut off. No explanation given, no reasons. You're done. Your account over. They have 500,000 followers over on Twitter. They're huge. Just cut off like that. And that is the legacy financial system in a nutshell. They control everything. Just imagine this. This is the tools of the internet of the past, which are broken. We need the tools of the internet of the future. And this is a problem we see in so many different levels all around the world. Visa and MasterCard, oh, they love censorship. They are all about it. Countries and banks, you better believe those guys love censorships. Have a look someday at the list of countries which are sanctioned for one reason or another. The list is long, affecting millions and millions of people all around the world. And of course, it's always the regular guy who suffers, the elites. They always find a way to get around sanctions and things like this. And this is right across the board, whether we're talking about Russia censoring a non-governmental organization getting funds within the country, or whether it's the USA putting pressure on to censor WikiLeaks in their financial transactions. It's happening everywhere. Why in 2018 are we still going and asking permission from a third party who we can give our money to? We earned that money, we made that money, and they're telling us who we can and cannot give money to. That is a crazy situation. Now look, they're going to bring out all of the old stuff, but it's money laundering. It's the banks. We know it's the banks doing the money laundering. That is very, very well documented. But you're going to use it to buy drugs. Why are governments telling me how I can alter my consciousness anyway? That should be between me, myself, and I. Take the government right on out of it. But they like to get involved in that too, don't they? But the terrorists are going to come for you. Oh man, the terrorism thing again? No, terrorists preferred money, dollars, euros. It's really easy to get big piles of cash. That's what they use. And the terrorism thing is a massively overblown issue anyway. No, what really is happening here is that there is a massive control on finance. We have to go to organizations that can freeze our accounts without any warning, without any reasons, and zero accountability. Bitcoin will never freeze your account because there is no person behind Bitcoin that will say, I don't like that transaction. Nope, Bitcoin is not going to do that. Bitcoin will not confiscate your money like Cyprus did when they took 10% of account holders' money. Yeah, people who had put their life savings into the bank, the government, the corrupt politicians mismanage the country, government steals your money. Bitcoin's not going to do that, guys. You have to remember. And of course, Bitcoin is not going to censor your transaction. It's not going to tell you who you can and cannot send money to. It is totally non-discriminatory. If you are a refugee, you can use Bitcoin. If you're black, if you're Hispanic, if you're Jewish, if you're a Pastafarian, Bitcoin is for you. Are you a Rohingya? Are you a radical? Are you an activist? Are you a mom? Are you a llama? Are you a platypus? Bitcoin is your thing. Are you a criminal? Are you a banker? Oh, wait, those two are actually the same, but they can use Bitcoin too. That's the thing. Everybody can get on the Bitcoin train. It is amazing when you look at that, because the legacy system, so many exceptions, so many rules, who can, who can't. So long as you can access the internet, you can get a hold of Bitcoin and you can send Bitcoin to someone else. They can receive it. And the services in terms of covering the world to get Bitcoin access to people is increasing all the time. There's satellites in space. There's GoTenna working on a mesh network of radios that can ping from one to another. It's only a matter of time before this becomes even more mainstream than it already is. Now, very interestingly, even though we've seen a lot of fall in Google Trends and all this stuff throughout the year for Bitcoin, and obviously the price has gone down, Colombia, India, Peru, and Venezuela have all had massive upward trends on local Bitcoins, which is very, very interesting. Now, obviously Venezuela, that makes sense. Colombia might be Venezuelans in Colombia sending Bitcoin to people in Venezuela. I'm sure there's at least some correlation there and some amount of people doing that. India, though, very interesting one. I'm not surprised at by any means, but interesting nevertheless. And all of this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to crypto, because crypto can be a liberating force, because the internet of the 90s, imagine the promise that the internet had, but it's quickly turning into this weird kind of dystopian place where you have giant corporate overlords and tech overlords and governments censoring everything and everyone's spying on everyone. And that's not what the internet should be. That's not the internet of the future, right? Nobody wants to end up in 1984, but they're building this kind of Orwellian infrastructure right now that is anti-human. It only works to serve the interests of the few. That is not what we want. Nassim Nicholas Taleb has written that Bitcoin is an insurance policy against an Orwellian future, because the thing is, they cannot stop Bitcoin. Governments would love to stop Bitcoin, but they can't. And again, it's just the tip of the iceberg. We have Monero, we have Zcash, we have a whole host of cryptocurrencies that offer lots of different options. Privacy tech that's so private, not even you'll know that you sent money to somebody. Now that is powerful. The real revolution in cryptocurrencies, as we know and we talk about a lot, it's not going to be based on a speculative bubble. Well, we might see another speculative bubble before we see mass adoption happen, but still, the real deal with cryptocurrencies is going to be helping 3 or 4 billion people who lack access to adequate financial tools and who suffer under BS corrupt governments. That's probably more than 3 or 4 billion people. That's probably most people in the world. When we get all these people transacting peer-to-peer, it is going to be very, very powerful. Remove the power of the banks, lessen the power of governments. This is going to be the next financial revolution. This is how mass adoption happens. We get entire countries leapfrogging the legacy banking system, just like they did with landline phones. They don't need them. Everyone's going to have a mobile in their hand. Everyone's going to be able to access Bitcoin or a different cryptocurrency if that's what they prefer. Because the idea of money as freedom comes with Bitcoin. The idea of money as slavery comes from fiat currency and big banks. Anyway, those are just my 2 Satoshis on the idea of Bitcoin as freedom and why it's so important to understand what Bitcoin is and why it's so important, and to not focus too much on the price, even though that's exciting too. You will let me know what you think about the idea of Bitcoin as freedom down below in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video, leave a thumbs up on it. That would be supremely awesome. If you're new around here, subscribe to the channel. If you want to know when I put out a new video, better hit that notification bell. You guys are supremely awesome. Thank you so much for watching the video. Long live the blockchain. And peace out till next time.